Today, we will shine a light into the darkness of a creepy underground cemetery together. Those who are afraid of the dark and the bones of dead people, please pay attention. A human bone may appear in front of us at any moment. Every year millions of tourists visit Paris to see famous sights such as the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre Museum and the Notre Dame Church. Also, those who follow fashion closely come to Paris to buy expensive, brand-name clothes. If you think it's just tourists having fun in Paris, posing on social media in front of the Eiffel Tower, you're wrong. Among the millions of tourists, some visit Paris's fearsome underground cemetery, which is essentially unknown. The Catacombs is an underground cemetery of 6 million bones arranged in a row. What are people going through in this scary place? Aren't the visitors afraid? Who is it good for to go on vacation to Paris, spend a day in fear and have nightmares from time to time for the rest of your life? We are going to the year 1785, that is, to Paris 235 years ago. Before the catacombs, an underground graveyard, there was actually another cemetery in Paris. But that cemetery has caused a plague epidemic here. In 1785, the authorities decided to remove the tombs within the city to meet the need for new zoning. After the decision taken, this frightening underground cemetery was opened. 250 years ago, this was actually a 10,000 square foot old quarry. Skeletons in all the cemeteries of Paris. For 15 months, it was stacked in a row, only moving at night. The authorities did not want the children to be frightened, especially carrying skeletons during the day. At the entrance of the underground cemetery, the French poet Jacques Delille, who lived in the 1700s, "Stop, this is the Empire of Death." The letter was also hung. And welcome to the Empire of Death. By the late 1700s, all the cemeteries in the city were scattering disease. Hundreds of people have lost their lives due to germs scattered from cemeteries. Paris has officially become a cursed plague city. The plague-ridden cemeteries opened one by one, and hundreds of priests said their prayers as bones were carried to the quarry, which was counted very far from the city. These rituals performed when it gets dark are really the kind that will give a person goosebumps. It was forbidden in Paris to go and see these hearsay rituals up close. The rituals were performed secretly by the priests so that both children and adults would not be afraid. The work of transporting bones, which took 15 months, is finally over. When you decide to go to Paris today, you can visit the catacomb with tours organized by the municipality of Paris. The cemetery is located about 20 to 30 meters below the ground. And you won't believe it, this cemetery covers an area of 11,000 square meters. The municipal authorities give an important warning when welcoming you at the door. If you have heart disease, if you're afraid of enclosed spaces, we don't recommend entering here. To reach the creepy cemetery, you're going down 130 stairs to the ground. Imagine that you will get out of here again. Narrow, dark passages and stairs that you walk for 15 minutes, it's as if the voice of the dead is heard. Well, we advise you to look at this image carefully. What do you think the shapes look like? The secret of some symbols that appear in the underground cemetery consisting of human bones, especially skulls and the arrangement of thigh bones, has still not been solved. Written sources are actually shedding light on many of the secrets of history that are buried in the darkness. Let's try to solve the secret of this cemetery by going back to even older times, to the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, the principle of cremation of the dead appeared that when Christianity prevailed over paganism, it was necessary to bury the dead. The process lasted for nearly 700 years, and left the administration in despair as millions of dead people could not fit into the cemeteries that were opened in Paris. The French, who had insufficient knowledge and culture about the burial of the dead due to their new acceptance of Christianity, stayed around with the corpses in their hands. So if you think about it, the French, who are now taking full advantage of all the blessings of technology, did not know how to bury their bodies a few hundred years ago. The idea of a genius that lived in those years, let's move these dead people out of the city, really worked. The quarry, which reached 280 kilometers long, saved the lives of thousands of people who had waited in line to die from germs spreading from cemeteries. There are human bones around here for 280 kilometers. However, only a 2-kilometer section is open to visitors these days. Would you like to walk 280 kilometers through the bones of the dead? Parisians call this cemetery the Gate of Hell. In this catacombs, where one does not dare enter, there are occasional visitors who pass out from fear. It seems a little difficult to stay brave here with the darkness, the cold, and the terrible appearance of the bones. Walking around a cemetery with 6 million skulls in it isn't such a good idea. You need to be patient at the gate of the catacombs. The authorities are taking visitors here in groups of 200 so that there will not be a stampede in the underground cemetery. Do people really get happy seeing skulls and bones here? The catacombs are open 6 days a week, except on Monday. The temperature of the catacombs averages 14 degrees in summer and winter. Pay attention to your head when going down the 130-step staircase, because some places are quite narrow and low. Bumping into human bones might not be a good idea. A little reminder for those who are going to Paris and those who want to visit this underground cemetery: don't confuse the catacombs with the sewer museum. In both cases, even if you go underground to visit these places, the two are very different. The sewer museum was actually discovered during a sewer operation by coincidence. Particularly during the Great Plague, when not enough graves were found in Paris, the church's decision was to bury the bodies underground and cover them with lime. Years later, this event was noticed when the subway was going to be built. There were thousands of bodies underground. It was just beginning. The sound of moans rising from these graves during the time of the construction never stopped, allegedly. When you enter the underground cemetery, you will first be greeted by a gallery with large photos that tell the story of the catacombs. Go into this gallery and read the story of this place first. The next part of the exhibit that you're going to visit has some rather strange information. For example, you wouldn't believe it if we said that there was a sea in Paris about 45 million years ago, but yes, there used to be a sea in Paris. In the museum section of the catacombs, in the maps on the walls, you'll be surprised to see how far the sea has progressed in Paris, and even at some point is completely covered with sea. The blue sea of Paris has been wiped out by global warming. If you also remember the fact that the seas are starting to rise again these days, who knows, maybe the sea may come to Paris again.